What's going on, guys? This is Burrs here to talk to you today about gun holsters. What I've come across throughout my time using them, what I feel is good, the things you should look for when you're looking to purchase a holster. Now I have some examples here on the table I'm going to use throughout the video, and we'll get down into the specifics of pretty much each one as we go along. One of the first things I think you should look at is quality. How do you tell if a Kydex holster is quality or not? The majority of the time you're not going to be able to tell from the internet. You're going to have to base it off of reviews people do. Each holster is different, and I can tell you through my experience that with the ones I've used, you can definitely tell a difference. There's different holsters. You have Kydex, you have leather, you have drop legs or nylon type material. All kinds of holsters. They hold different ways, inside, outside the waistband. Lots of different stuff going on. So let's just get down to some of the specifics on, let's talk about Kydex. As far as Kydex goes, it's a person that's pressing the gun into a holster. Now all these weapons have been cleared before this video. When working with holsters, you're going to have to see what works for you. Holsters, especially Kydex here, you can see is made of different thicknesses. You can see there. Different thicknesses. This is a .06, this is a .08. I have another .08 right here. You can see it's definitely of a thicker, Kydex. And, what's it going to do for you? So I have different types of holsters. This right here is by Bravery Designs, as well as this one is. And these two are great holsters. And this is more of an inside the waistband, this is more of a outside the waistband. This one right here is made by Bravery Designs. This is a inside the waistband with some J clips on it, J hooks, that look like they're actually made from Kydex. And this is kind of like a prototype design. It's like I said, inside the waistband. It's really good for like the appendix carry. It's really good pretty much for anything, as it's really slim. You can see that it holds the gun well. That's one thing you want to look at with buying a holster, is how does it hold the gun? How does it actually, secure the gun? And you can see that, the majority of the gun is in here, the trigger guard. It comes down to the bottom of the trigger guard, and that's usually where you're going to get your retention anyhow. It's right on the end of that trigger guard there. And what's the retention on the holster? This one's really good for retention. You don't want to have it too loose, but you don't want to have it too tight. This one here is made by Rogers Customs, and it's definitely on the tighter side. Even to get it in there is alright, as you can see there, this one's definitely tight. You can hear it actually shave off. I got it in there, and then you can hear it. Right here actually wears off on this one. This one's a little too tight. I actually have to send this back and have them work on it so it can get a little bit looser. But that's what you're gonna have to look for, is do you want it loose or tight? This one right here from Crown is actually perfect. When it's in here, it's in there. It's moving around just slightly, but when you put it on, it'll flex out a little bit and tighten down. This one's perfect retention. Out of any holster I've ever owned, this is the perfect retention for an outside the waistband. Same thing goes here. This is a RTI attachment you can use on battle belts and such. And with that one, you can adjust the tension right here. But the tension on this is perfect. It goes in there and locks in. You can hear it, but the retention taking it out is also very good. G-Code spends a ton of time making sure their stuff's on the top of the food chain, and in my opinion it is. So some of the stuff you're going to have to make choices from is from most of the companies. You can either pick from .06 or .08, and what that refers to when you see that is the thickness of the Kydex. .06 is going to be lighter, it's going to be thinner, it's going to hold and everything, but longevity you might not get out of it. If you go to like a .08, which this one right here is, it's a little bit thicker and it's going to last a lot longer. Some of the other ones I have here, they're definitely thicker. This one on the G-Code is super thick, and it's going to last forever, pretty much. Just because of the fact that it is made of very thick, you can see the difference here between the two. Very thick piece of Kydex that they're using there. Now let's get down to the quality that you're purchasing. This is something you're not going to probably be able to see unless they have good pictures on websites. But what's the quality of it being made? There's lots of different things people do. You can see some locking washers are on there. There's different washers on here and nuts. These are the same nuts that are used there. You know, we look at this on here. They actually have it where it's riveted in place. This is a Gunfighter Inc. Ronin holster. They have these actually riveted in. They don't want that to move. They want this to be a solid piece of equipment. And it is. But when you get down to something a little more custom, as you see with this one from Rogers, which is, you know, he does his own thing, you know, you have a different way of making it, which is this little washer here. You know, works fine, never had it come loose. Beyond the custom make, you know, if you don't have good pictures, you're going to have to rely on reviews and, you know, people that you know that have this stuff, these different holsters, so you can make sure you make a very good decision on what you're going to get, because you don't want to spend $70 or so on something that you're going to get and be like, oh, wow, this isn't exactly what I wanted. The other thing you have to come down to is options. You can see that on many holsters they have different options for, you know, where they're going to have the holes here on the side, so you can adjust your height on your holster. So you're going to have to bring that into play. You know, here's a few here. You're going to be able to move this down at all. You know, on this one. And on this one, like I said, this one's riveted in, so you're not going to be moving it. But on these two, you can see there's some ability to move it around, you know, down about ½ inch. So you're going to have to ask yourself, do I want customization? You know, like Bravery Designs, if you throw them an idea, you know, they can make it for you, which is what this was, because I was talking to this guy about a really slim holster, and, you know, he kind of sent me this and said, you know, let me know what you think of that. And I really like it, but, you know, there's some stuff that needs to be worked on, and we're working through that. But, you know, this is a quality piece of gear, and I really like the J hooks. The only problem I have with them is, you know, I'd like to see them to be a little bit stronger. But, you know, I mean, that's something you have to work through with your holster maker. Now you can get into something that is nylon. Now, I don't have any nylon holsters other than what I have for like combat related stuff. This is a London Bridge trading holster, and I really like it. It's my favorite one. You know, and that's a Glock 19 that's inside of there. And you can adjust it all the way out, do everything you need. I mean, this is like a one-stop shop. I can convert that right over to use my 1911 gun, which is what I use it for the most part, because this is made for a large frame gun. But, you know, I've used this before with a smaller frame gun, like my Glock 19s, you know. And that's the one thing about drop legs, is you have to also know how to use them. You know, when I was at the rally, I actually saw a lot of people, the Second Amendment rallies, I saw a lot of people running these, you know, and they're running them down at their knee. I mean, this has to be a few inches off of your belt. You know, that's the ideal place to have it, is just to get it off of your belt. Drop leg was designed to get it away from your gear that you're running. And you don't need it to be all the way down at your knee, plus it's going to be flopping around. You want to have this high thigh, is basically where I say to have these drop legs. But, you know, that's an option. What do you need? Holsters get back to need. Do you need to have a Kydex? Are you trying to get something off of, you know, your belt just a little bit, just to get it off the belt so you have a little bit more room? Or you want to get it away from your plate carrier? You know, there's lots of different reasons you go drop leg. But when it comes to nylon, I don't like using nylon for everyday carry or for concealed carry, open carry, whatever. You know, that kind of stuff. I like to use Kydex, because the same thing for leather. You know, Kydex is the shape it is, and it stays that shape. It doesn't change what it is. And I mean, it's the consistency of draw is what I look for when it comes to holsters. And with Kydex, that's what I'm getting, and that's what I really like. Now, when you're looking at workmanship, let's get down to it here. Here's two examples of the workmanship that goes into Kydex holster making. You can see there the edges. Okay, look at the difference in the edges. This one's, you know, not really melded together, but this one from Crown is super. You know, it's melted together nicely, nice round edges. You know, you gotta look at the difference in the quality of workmanship. This one's from Gunfighter Inc. You can really see it on this one. Okay, you see the two different patterns there melded together. Okay, a lot of time and effort has gone into making this holster compared to other holsters you might see. And when you get into the inside the waistband, this is strictly an inside the waistband holster. This is basically for appendix carry, or you can use it, you know, on the side, etc. But the difference between this and other ones is, you know, it has this fuzz on the outside. This is the best inside the waistband holster I've ever used in my life. It really, you know, you can change the clips around. It comes with different clips. You can ride it lower, higher, whatever you're looking to do there. And very customizable. And the consistency of draw is there too because it's Kydex. You know, comes in, locks in. This is made by G-Code. You know, and I have a consistent draw every time. And you can adjust that on this as well. The little tension screw right here. You can adjust that. But, you know, again, it's what are you looking for? Do you want to have the ability to appendix carry? Well, then you should get something that has slightly, you know, the ability to appendix carry, like these two would. Does that, you know, or do you just want to flip these to the outside and use this on the inside if you're looking to run that? You know, this is one, I don't even know where I got this, but I just basically converted it to a inside the waistband, these little latches here, and I can use this on the inside the waistband. I have for a long time, and it works fine. And the consistency of draw is there because it's Kydex. It's always the same shape. It's always going to go in the same and come out the same. That's what I like about Kydex. The other thing I hear a lot of people talk about is comfort. Now, when I talk about comfort is, you know, yeah, having this fuzz on the outside, it does make it slightly more comfortable, particularly in the summertime and such. But is it comfortable to carry a gun? The answer is no. If you're looking to get into like something from Victoria's Secret, don't carry a gun because it's not going to be comfortable. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world. You can kind of get around it a little bit and kind of change it up, you know, get to a comfortable state, but is it going to be comfortable like you're sitting in a lazy boy? Absolutely not. So, you know, get that right out of your mind right away when you're like, oh, I want to carry a gun, I need to find a holster that's comfortable. You might find something that's more comfortable than another thing, but you're never going to find something that is completely comfortable. And you're also going to think about, do you want to carry a light for everyday carry? If the answer is yes, then you know you're going to have to find something that works everyday carry for a light mounted option, you know. So you're going to have to buy an inside/outside the waistband. You're going to have to buy some J hooks when you purchase your holster. You're going to have to plan around that. In the wintertime, I normally do the light carry a lot more. Summertime, you know, I'm pretty much, you know, this is how I'm running. Just with a gun and, you know, magazine. But, you know, wintertime I do like to carry with a light a lot better because the darkness is much, you know, it's dark more than it is light compared to summertime. The other thing that you're going to have to talk about is the belt loops. And I'm going to show you all these different belt loops, and it's very apparent that everyone does belt loops differently. It's something you can talk about. You can see here with the options that I have here, the difference in the belt loops of all these. You can see some, like the ones on this Haley, are injection molded and very nice. You can see that these right here are made out of Kydex. Actually, all these are made out of Kydex except for the Haley. This one right here from RKBA, these look to be injection molded from what I can see. Lots of different options going on. The difference here would be just craftsmanship. Here's a Gunfighters Inc. Here is a Rogers Gunfighters Inc. It's contoured for the belt. This one is basically just flat. Okay, you guys see that difference? Contoured, and this one's just flat. Okay, so you're gonna have to come in and, you know, figure out, you know, what do you want. In my opinion, I really like this contour right here. You can see there's somewhat of a contour here on this crown. There's no contour here on the Bravery Designs, and this is very flat here. Do they work? Yeah, they all work. But what do you want? You know, that's what it all comes down to. And reviews and talking to people is going to be the best way to figure things out. If you come across someone at the range and they have a holster you really like, you know, just check with them. Hey, can I check your holster out? I really was looking at getting a holster. How do you like your holster? You know, just talk to people, you know, when you go in the gun shop, and just try and figure out what works for you. What do you want? Does it bother you that, okay, you might spend $10 less, but you're going to get flat, you know, but belt loops? Or you spend $10 more and get contoured ones that have friction tape on the inside to keep that belt and everything in a positive locking manner for when you're going to draw. you know, it's up to you. What do you want is what this all comes down to. You can see the belt loops on here are injection molded, like I said. Very, you know, they're consistent, nice and, you know, easy to produce. But like I said, these ones here, there's another difference. These are created custom by someone, okay? They're rounded and everything, customized. These right here, nice and injection molded, they're perfect as far as tolerances. When you come down to stuff like this that people are making, they're making the tolerances every single time they make one. You know, do you want something that's going to say, yep, this is 1.75 every single time? Or do you want something that's maybe 1.73, 1.7, 1.8? Okay, it might be a little bit off or on depending on who's making it. For me, what it comes down to with gun holsters is, what am I doing? Am I using it for like a combat environment? Am I using it for the range and training? Am I using it for everyday carry and I want to have a very slick setup? Do I need to use inside the waistband? For me, the way I do things is I like to have one thing for everything. And that doesn't mean I want to have one holster for everything. That means I want to have an inside the waistband that's bulletproof. I want to have an outside the waistband that's bulletproof. I want to have, you know, something for my battle belt and throw it around. You know, I want to have something for my battle belt. You know, the rest of this stuff is basically testing out. And, you know, what works for you, sometimes you're going to have to get something that sucks. And I've had that with things. I'm not here to badmouth anyone, I'm not going to. But I mean, there is sometimes where you get stuff and it just doesn't work. You know, this crown I got works awesome. This is probably the best, at this point in my, you know, ventures, the best one that I've tested out as far as the consistency of everything. I just got this Gunfighters Inc. This is probably the best created one that I've ever used. I mean, if you just look at the time that went into making this, there's a ton of time that went into making this, and thought and care, and it works exceptionally well. We only had it for 2 days, but I mean, look at the difference. That's the other thing I want to talk about is innovation. If you have a holster maker who's just making a basic holster, this one's from Rogers, right? Looks way different. Okay, this one's from Gunfighters Inc. Why is it like this? Because you can get your finger on there. Okay, your finger's not off of it. Your finger's on the gun already as it comes out. Okay, he's doing this stuff to try to be innovative. Same thing here. Why is that cut right there? It's for the same reason. Okay, get your finger on the gun quicker. Okay, same thing. Okay, here, but this one doesn't have that. So you know, your finger's on here, you come in, you lock in, okay? Yeah, your finger's gonna be on it, but look at the difference between all these designs. There's some that stand out, trying to be innovative, and there's some that are just kind of basic. Okay, these are all the outside the waistbands. Okay? There's some that are different, there's some that look to try to be innovative. In my opinion, I really like to go with people who try to be innovative. That means they're thinking outside the box, they're trying to make things better. Anyone can put together a Kydex holster. The question is, how can you put together a Kydex holster that is different and is better than the other guy? That's the question. When I see that in companies where I see them try to cut, you know, things a little bit slimmer, when I see them try to round things off better than the other person, when I see them, you know, put this grip tape on the inside. That's innovation, and that's the kind of companies that I like to do business with. When looking at the design of these, what you have to look for is it functional? And I've talked to Crown about this, and they're actually changing it. But what I mean by that is, when you have this in here, you have a very small, okay, area to have your fingers come in here, okay? So just take a picture of this, and then let's take a look at this one. Okay, look how much more open that is. Okay, I have this whole area right here that's not in the way. Okay, it's small stuff like that you have to look at and say to yourself, okay, let's look at this design. Okay, you can see this one here, not in the way at all, right? It's angled though. When you have a fully angled one, you have a lot more room to maneuver. When you have a straight one, you don't have as much room, so you have to kind of play around with it. And you know, some companies got that, some companies don't. You can see this one's flat as well. You know, and that's the way I like it. This is the ultimate way I like it. Flat, okay? I don't like anything to get in the way of my unholstering of the weapon. The other thing with Kydex is you're going to have to look at the rivets. How are the rivets done? Okay, you can see a rivet here, see a rivet there. Okay, you don't want to have rivets that are like buried deep in there. You want to make sure they're nice and mushroomed is what I would call it. Okay, that's another thing you want to look at. Retention is a huge part of a holster. If you don't have good retention, and when I say good, I don't mean a ton. Okay, you don't want to have so much retention that you can't get the damn thing out. And I actually was testing a holster when I was at the Second Amendment shoot. I had to talk to the Kydex guy, you know, and this has been for a couple weeks now. I haven't gotten him it back. But the one I was using there, you know, it did not draw very easily, and it was a little too tight, so I'm going to have to send it back. But retention on this, you can adjust it out right here at this screw. Alright, this is Haley. The retention on this crown, perfect. The retention on this Gunfighters Inc, perfect. Okay? But you're not going to be able to tell that from a website. You're not going to be able to look at a holster on a website and say, oh yeah, look at that, that probably has really good retention. I would really like to see Kydex holster makers in particular have a rating of pull. Okay, what is your draw retention? How many, whatever, pounds of force to retain, or to you know, take the holster out, to unholster your weapon? What is the retention that you average, give or take a little bit? That way we'd have a baseline of what people are doing, and we can have something to measure by. That's something I like to see holster makers improve upon, because I can tell you at the holsters I have, they all have a different rate of retention, which is fine. But for the consumer side of it, I really like to see holster makers kind of, you know, have some sort of a rate of pull on getting the holster, you know, getting the gun unholstered, so that the consumer could say, okay, when I got my holster from so-and-so, you know, the retention was 4 pounds to pull it out, you know, but your website says it's 7 pounds. Can you make one with a little less retention? Because that's what I like. That way you'd have something to go off of, so that everyone could have a metric, so they can measure what they do and do not like. It's with everything else in the world, where you talk about trigger pull, you talk about the sharpness of things and angles, and what you like, what you don't like. I think they could definitely add that to the Kydex holster market with websites, so that people could have a better customization of their gear. When it comes down to price though, people are going to price things the way they price them. Pretty much everything on this table is around the same price, which is the $50 to $60, $70 mark. And you can see that there's definitely some differences in them, but you're going to spend $70 to $50 for the most part for a custom Kydex holster, depending on where you're going, of course. The reason that people will go to these holster makers that aren't very well known, or aren't top of the game, like Crown and Bravery. Bravery doesn't have a website yet. They're on Facebook. You have Rogers, you have Gunfighters Inc. The reason people are really taking a look at these guys a lot recently is because the what I would call brand name manufacturers have taken over, and people go to them solely. But in my opinion, there's people out there making better stuff than they make, and that's what my channel is dedicated to, is to finding the guys who are making better stuff that's getting overlooked because the main manufacturers are so big, and there's still guys out there that are making just as good, and in some cases better, like this Gunfighters Inc. This Gunfighters Inc. is simply amazing. It's my favorite holster at this point. Just the amount of time that went into that, you can see it when you look at it, and it's just really top notch. I can't say enough about it. He also makes a drop leg made out of Kydex and different parts that just looks extraordinary, and the time that went into it, the thought process that went into it is really above and beyond what I've seen from any manufacturer. That drop leg that he has in prototype form at the moment. So really doing a lot of good things over there. Gunfighters, Crown, Bravery. Okay, these guys are all top-notch guys, easy to work with. I don't talk much about leather because I'm not a fan of leather. Leather moves over time. Leather is not static in the way it's made. This doesn't move, this doesn't move. Kydex doesn't move, and that's why I like it. So that's a little overview of holsters. Sorry I don't talk about leather very much, or nylon. I just don't like them very much. So that's a look at some Kydex holsters and some nylon holsters and such. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and let me know. If you guys have your holsters or holster companies that you have that you really like, go ahead and put it in the comments, definitely. Or even better yet, make a video response. And until next time, later.